Poitiers, pwatje, is a city on the Clain River in west-central France. It is a commune and the capital of the Vienne department and also of the Poitou. Poitiers is a major university centre. The centre of town is picturesque and its streets include predominant historical architecture, especially religious architecture and especially from the Romanesque period. Two major military battles took place near the city. In 732, the Battle of Poitiers, also known as the Battle of Tours, in which the Franks commanded by Charles Martel halted the expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate. And in 1356, the Battle of Poitiers, a key victory for the English forces during the 100 Years' War. This battle's consequences partly provoked the Jacquerie. Geography. Location. The city of Poitiers is strategically situated on the Seuil du Poitou, a shallow gap between the Armorican and the Central Massif. The Seuil du Poitou connects the Aquitaine Basin to the south to the Paris Basin to the north. This area is an important geographic crossroads in France and Western Europe. Situation. Poitiers' primary site sits on a vast promontory between the valleys of the Poitou and the Clain. The old town occupies the slopes and the summit of a plateau which rises 130 feet, 40 meters, above the streams which surround it on three sides. Thus Poitiers benefits from a very strong tactical situation. This was an especially important factor before and throughout the Middle Ages. Inhabitants and demography. Inhabitants of Poitiers are referred to as Poitevins or Poitevins, although this denomination can be used for anyone from the Poitou province. As of 2015, the population of Poitiers was 298,339. 1 out of 3 people in Poitiers is under the age of 30 and 1 out of 4 residents in Poitiers is a student. Climate. The climate in the Poitiers area is mild with mild temperature amplitudes and adequate rainfall throughout the year. The Köppen climate classification subtype for this type of climate is CFB. Marine West Coast climate, oceanic climate. History. Antiquity. Poitiers was founded by the Celtic tribe of the Pictones and was known as the Oppidum Lemanum, before Roman influence. The name is said to have come from the Celtic word for elm, lemo. After Roman influence took over, the town became known as Pictivium, or later, Pictivis, after the original Pictones inhabitants themselves. There is a rich history of archaeological finds from the Roman era in Poitiers. In fact, until 1857 Poitiers hosted the ruins of a vast Roman amphitheatre, which was larger than that of Nîmes. Remains of Roman baths, built in the 1st century and demolished in the 3rd century, were uncovered in 1877. In 1879 a burial place and tombs of a number of Christian martyrs were discovered on the heights to the southeast of the town. The names of some of the Christians had been preserved in paintings and inscriptions. Not far from these tombs is a huge dolmen, the Pierre Levée, which is 6.7 meters, 22 feet, long, 4.9 meters, 16 feet, broad and 2.1 meter, 7 feet, high, and around which used to be held the Great Fair of St. Luke. The Romans also built at least 3 aqueducts. This extensive ensemble of Roman constructions suggests Poitiers was a town of first importance, possibly even the capital of the Roman province of Gallia Aquitania during the 2nd century. As Christianity was made official and gradually introduced across the Roman Empire during the 3rd and 4th centuries, the first bishop of Poitiers from 350 to 367, Hilary of Poitiers, Saint Hilarius, proceeded to evangelize the town. Exiled by Constantius II, he risked death to return to Poitiers as bishop after discovering that the Christian Eastern Church were not heretical as believed in Rome, but had, rather, reached many of the same conclusions about the Holy Trinity as had the Western Church. The first foundations of the Baptiste de Saint-Jean can be traced to that era of open Christian evangelization. He was named Doctor of the Church by Pope Pius IX. In the 4th century, a thick wall 6 meters wide and 10 meters high was built around the town. It was 2.5 kilometers, 2 miles, long and stood lower on the naturally defended east side and at the top of the promontory. Around this time, the town began to be known as Poitiers. 50 years later, Poitiers fell into the hands of the Arian Visigoths, and became one of the principal residences of their kings. Visigoth King Alaric II was defeated by Clovis I at Voila, not far from Poitiers, in 507, and the town thus came under Frankish dominion. Middle Ages. During most of the early Middle Ages, the town of Poitiers took advantage of its defensive tactical site and of its location, which was far from the center of Frankish power, as the seat for an évêché, bishop. Since the 4th century, the town was a center of some importance and the capital of the Poitou county. At the height of their power, the counts of Poitiers governed a large domain, including both Aquitaine and Poitou. The town was often referred to as Poitiers, a name commemorated in warships of the Royal Navy. After the Battle of Poitiers, the first decisive victory of a Christian army over a Muslim power, the Battle of Tours, was fought by Charles Martel's men in the vicinity of Poitiers on 10 October 732. For many historians, it was one of the world's pivotal moments. Eleanor of Aquitaine frequently resided in the town, which she embellished and fortified, and in 1199 entrusted with communal rights. In 1152 she married the future King Henry II of England in Poitiers Cathedral. During the 100 Years' War, the Battle of Poitiers, an English victory, was fought near the town of Poitiers on 19 September 1356. Later in the war in 1418, under duress, the royal parliament moved from Paris to Poitiers, where it remained in exile until the Plantagenets finally withdrew from the capital in 1436. During this interval, in 1429, Poitiers was the site of Joan of Arc's formal inquest. The University of Poitiers was founded in 1431. During and after the Reformation, John Calvin had numerous converts in Poitiers and the town had its share of the violent proceedings which underlined the wars of religion throughout France. In 1569 Poitiers was defended by Gouy de Dion, Comte du Lude, against Gaspard de Coligny, who after an unsuccessful bombardment and 7 weeks, retired from a siege he had laid to the town. 16th century. The type of political organization existing in Poitiers during the late medieval or early modern period can be glimpsed through a speech given on 14 July 1595 by Maurice Roten, the town's mayor. He compared it to the Roman state, which combined 3 types of government: monarchy, rule by one person; aristocracy, rule by a few; and democracy, rule by the many. He said the Roman consulate corresponded to Poitiers' mayor, the Roman Senate to the town's peers and echevans, and the democratic element in Rome corresponded to the fact that most important matters cannot be decided except by the advice of the moisette broad council. One mayor appears to have been an advocate of a mixed constitution. Not all Frenchmen in 1595 would have agreed with him, at least in public. Many spoke in favor of absolute monarchy. The democratic element was not as strong as the mayor's words may seem to imply. In fact, Poitiers was similar to other French cities: Paris, Nantes, Marseille, Limoges, La Rochelle, Dijon, in that the town's governing body, Corps de Ville, was highly exclusive and oligarchical. A small number of professional and family groups controlled most of the city offices. In Poitiers, many of these positions were granted for the lifetime of the office holder. 2. The city government in Poitiers based its claims to legitimacy on the theory of government where the mayor and archevêques held jurisdiction of the city's affairs in fief from the king. That is, they swore allegiance and promised support for him, and in return he granted them local authority. This gave them the advantage of being able to claim that any townsperson who challenged their authority was being disloyal to the king. Every year the mayor and the 24 archevêques would swear an oath of allegiance between the hands of the king or his representative, usually the lieutenant general of the Seine-et-Chaussée. For example, in 1567, when Maison Poitevin was mayor, King Henry III came for a visit, and, although some townspeople grumbled about the licentious behavior of his entourage, Henry smoothed things over with a warm speech acknowledging their allegiance and thanking them for it. 2. In this era, the mayor of Poitiers was preceded by sergeants wherever he went, consulted deliberative bodies, carried out their decisions, heard civil and criminal suits in first instance, tried to ensure that the food supply would be adequate, visited markets. 2. In the 16th century, Poitiers impressed visitors because of its large size and important features, including royal courts, university, prolific printing shops, wealthy religious institutions, cathedral, numerous parishes, markets, impressive domestic architecture, extensive fortifications, and castle. 3. 16th century Poitiers is closely associated with the life of François Rabelais and with the community of Bitards. 17th century. The town saw less activity during the Renaissance. Few changes were made in the urban landscape, except for laying way for the Rue de la Tranchée. Bridges were built where the inhabitants had used gues. A few hotels particuliers were built at the time, such as the hotels Jean Bourset, Fumé and Berthelot. Poets Joachim du Bellay and Pierre Roncide met at the University of Poitiers before leaving for Paris. During the 17th century, many people emigrated from Poitiers and the Poitou to the French settlements in the New World, and thus many Acadians living in North America today can trace ancestry back to this region. 18th century. During the 18th century, the town's activity mainly depended on its administrative functions as a regional center. Poitiers served as the seat for the regional administration of royal justice, the évêché, the monasteries and the intendants of the Généralité du Poitou. The Vicomte de Blossac, intendant of Poitou from 1750 to 1784, had a French garden landscaped in Poitiers. He also had Aliénor d'Aquitain's ancient wall raised and modern boulevards were built in its place. 19th century. During the 19th century, many army bases were built in Poitiers because of its central and strategic location. Poitiers became a garrison town, despite its distance from France's borders. The Poitiers train station was built in the 1850s, and connected Poitiers to the rest of France. 20th century and contemporary Poitiers. Poitiers was bombed during World War II, particularly the area around the railway station, which was heavily hit on 13 June 1944. From the late 1950s until the late 1960s, when Charles de Gaulle ended the American military presence, the U.S. Army and U.S. Air Force had an array of military installations in France, including a major army logistics and communications hub in Poitiers, part of what was called the Communication Zone, COMS, and consisting of a logistics headquarters and communications agency located at above Ile-Caserne, a military compound situated on a hill above the city. Hundreds of graduates, military brats, of Poitiers American High School, a school operated by the Department of Defense school system. Dodds have gone on to successful careers, including the recent Commander-in-Chief of U.S. Special Forces Command, Army General Brian Doug Brown. The caserne also housed a full support community, with a theater, commissary, recreation facilities and an affiliate radio station of the American Forces Network Europe, headquartered in Frankfurt, now Mannheim, Germany. The town benefited from industrial decentralization in the 1970s, for instance with the installation during that decade of the Michelin and Compagnie des Compteurs Schlumberger factories. The Futuroscope theme park and research park project, built in 1986, 1987 in nearby Chassagnol-du-Poitou, after an idea by René Monnery, consolidated Poitiers Place as a touristic destination and as a modern university center, and opened the town to the era of information technology. Landmarks and attractions. Baptiste Saint-Jean, 4th century. The oldest church in France. Palace of Poitiers, the seat of the Dukes of Aquitaine. Église Notre-Dame-la-Grande, oldest Romanesque architecture church in Europe. Cathédrale Saint-Pierre, Poitiers Cathedral, 12th century. Musée Saint-Croix, the largest museum in Poitiers. Church of Saint Radegonde, 6th century. Église Saint-Hilaire-la-Grande, 11th century. Hypogeae des Dunes, underground chapel. Jardin des Plantes de Poitiers, a park and botanical garden. Église de Montienf, Tête municipal de Poitiers, by the French architect Édouard Lardillier. Parc du Futuroscope, European Park of the Moving Image, some 10 kilometers, 6.2 miles, north of Poitiers. Theme is visual communication technology in ultramodern buildings. Le Confort Moderne. Sports. The Stade Poitevin, founded in 1900, is a multi-sports club, which fields several top-level teams in a variety of sports. These include a volleyball team that play in the French Pro A Volleyball League, a basketball team, an amateur football team and a professional rugby team. As of the 2008-2009 season, the PB86 are Poitiers Basket 86, WWW, PB86, FR, play in the French Pro A Basketball League. In the 2009-10 season, 3 Americans played for PB86, Rashid Wright, Kenny Younger and Tommy Gunn. The team played the French Championship playoffs in the 2009-10 season and was the Pro B French champion for the 2008-2009 season. The team's communication strategy is considered by some to be one of the best in the French Basketball League. Brian Joubert, the figure skating champion, practices at an ice rink in Poitiers and lives with his family in the city. Tourism. Historic churches, in particular Romanesque church buildings, are the main attraction inside Poitiers itself. The town's center is picturesque, with generally well-preserved architecture and a recently rezoned pedestrian area. There are numerous shops, cafes and restaurants in the town center. Since 1987, Poitiers' tourist industry has indirectly benefited from the Futuroscope theme park and research park in nearby Chassagnol-du-Poitou. The center of town receives visits in complement to the theme park and benefits from a larger proportion of European tourists, notably from the United Kingdom. In conjunction, Poitiers tourism has directly benefited from the TGV high-speed rail link to Paris. Transport. Poitiers railway station lies on the TGV Atlantique line between Paris and Bordeaux. The station is in the valley to the west of the old town centre. Services run to Angoulême, Limoges and La Rochelle in addition to Paris and Bordeaux. The direct TGV puts Poitiers 1h40 from Paris's Gare Montparnasse. Poitiers Biard Airport is located 2.4 kilometers, 1.5 miles, west of Poitiers, with flights to Lyon, Saint-Exupéry, London Stansted, Edinburgh and Shannon, Ireland on Ryanair. Urban transportation in Poitiers is provided by a company called Vitalis. Regional ground transportation in the department of the Vienne is provided by private bus companies such as Clain and Vienne. Rail transportation in the region is provided by the public Poitou Charentes regional express train. From January 2009 to December 2012, Poitiers town centre went through deep changes to make it less accessible to motor vehicles. The project, named Projet Cœur d'Aglo, focused on rethinking the way people use individual cars to access the town centre and as an everyday way of transportation. On the 29th of September 2010, 12 streets were permanently closed off to motor vehicles and transformed into an entirely pedestrian zone. Eventually, a new line of fast buses will be added around 2017. Education. The city of Poitiers has a very old tradition as a university centre. Starting in the Middle Ages, the University of Poitiers was established in 1431 as the second oldest university in France, and has welcomed many famous philosophers and scientists throughout the ages, notably François Rabelais, René Descartes, Francis Bacon, Samir Amin. Today Poitiers is one of the biggest university towns in France. In fact, it has more students per inhabitant than any other large town or city in France. All around, there are over 27,000 university students in Poitiers, nearly 4,000 of which are foreigners, hailing from 117 countries. The university covers all major fields from sciences to geography, history, languages, economics and law. The law degree at the University of Poitiers is considered to be one of the best in France. The program was ranked second by L'Étudiant magazine in 2005. In addition to the university, Poitiers also hosts 2 engineering schools and 2 business schools. The École nationale supérieure des mécaniques et de aérotechnique, ENSMA. The École nationale supérieure d'ingénieurs de Poitiers, ENSIP. The France Business School, FBS. The Institut d'Administration des Entreprises de Poitiers, IAE. Since 2001, the city of Poitiers has hosted the first cycle of the South America, Spain and Portugal program from the Paris Institute of Political Studies. International relations. Twin towns, sister cities. Poitiers is twinned with notable people. This is a list of people of interest who were born or resided in Poitiers. Hilary of Poitiers, c. 300–367. Elected Bishop of Poitiers around the year 350. Exiled and returned to die there. Charles Martel, French general who defeated the Muslim Umayyad army in the Battle of Poitiers in 732. François Rabelais, Renaissance writer and humanist. Pope Clement V, Saint Venantius Fortunatus, 6th century Latin poet and hymnodist and bishop in the Roman Catholic Church. Bless Marie-Louise Trichet, William Longchamp, buried at the Abbey of Le Pin, 1197. René Descartes studied law at the University of Poitiers. St. Louis de Montfort. Michel Acio, the explorer, was born in Poitiers. Paul Rougnon, composer and professor at the Conservatoire de Paris. Fernand Faux, born in Poitiers in 1858. French illustrator and cartoonist. Louis Vienne, organist and composer, eventually at the Notre Dame Cathedral, Paris. Camille Guérin, born in Poitiers in 1872. discovered a vaccine against tuberculosis with Albert Camus in 1924. Michel Foucault, French philosopher. Joel Robuchon, born in Poitiers in 1945. French chef and restaurateur. Jean-Pierre Raffarin, French politician and senator for Vienne. Former Prime Minister of France. 2002 to 2005. Jean-Pierre Thiollet, born in Poitiers in 1956. French author. Maurice Ewan-Europe athlete. Monique Ewan-Europe athlete. Mahyar Monchipur, ex-World Boxing Association super bantamweight champion in 2003 to 2006. Simon Page Indo racecar driver. Bruce Nkango footballer. Elsa Nguessan swimmer. Brian Joubert, French ice skating champion. Francis Nganga footballer. Romain Edouard chess player and grandmaster. Reba Baikoua basketball player. Yassine Jebba footballer. See also. Communes of the Vienne department. Pierre-Marie Poisson. The works of Maxime Riel Delsarte. References. INSE. This article incorporates text from a publication now in the public domain. Chisholm, Hugh. ed. 1911. Article name needed. Encyclopaedia Britannica. 11th ed. Cambridge University Press. Bibliography. Archives Communalistes de Poitiers. Reg. 54. pp. 211–213. In Harry J. Bernstein. Between Crown and Community. Politics and Civic Culture in 16th-Century Poitiers. 2004. Ithaca N. Y. USA. Cornell University Press. p. 22. Harry J. Bernstein. Between Crown and Community. Politics and Civic Culture in 16th-Century Poitiers. 2004. Ithaca N. Y. USA. Cornell University Press. p. 22–30. Ibid. p. 2. Notes. External links. Official website of the City of Poitiers. Website Cap. Prefecture of the Vienne. Official website Vitalis. Urban Transportation. Official website Line N Vienne. Vienne Transportation. Official website Air Poitou Charents. Official website of the train station in Poitiers. Site of the Tourist Office of Poitiers. The University of Poitiers website. Poitiers. History. Churches. Streets and museum.